All right, welcome. This is DB Talking Now, DB Talking Birds, DB Talking Philadelphia Eagles. First things first, if I were a Los Angeles Rams fan, I would be absolutely livid. And I'll tell you why. Because the Lions just pretty much fleeced the Los Angeles Rams with that trade that I did go ahead and report last night. And I'm pretty sure, obviously, all of us have probably heard about it at this point. And the trade that I'm obviously referring to is the trade that does talk about Matthew Stafford going to the Los Angeles Rams for Jared Goff and 2 future first-round draft picks. 2 future first-round draft picks? Are you absolutely out of your mind? Are you absolutely out of your mind? Now look, is Matthew Stafford a little bit of an upgrade over Jared Goff? Yeah, probably. He probably is a little bit of an upgrade over Jared Goff. But one, he's older. I believe he's about 6 or 7 to 8 years older than Jared Goff, and is he gonna absolutely make or break or change the fortunes of that franchise? Probably not. It's probably not going to be a huge difference, and that's exactly why I would be livid if I were a Los Angeles Rams fan. One, you're giving up Jared Goff, who didn't have his best season, but they have been a winning organization since Sean McVay and Jared Goff have been the pairing there in Los Angeles, and or for the Rams, and they've been to the playoffs, they've been to a Super Bowl. And had ridden out that was a tough game that they played against a tough close game against New England in that Super Bowl that they ultimately lost. So yeah, absolutely. I think the Detroit Lions won in that trade, in every aspect of that trade. Now, if it were Matthew Stafford. If it were straight up Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff, that's a little bit more explainable. It's those 2 first-round draft picks that completely escalate that trade into absolute fucking la-la land, which is why I say I would be absolutely livid as a Los Angeles Rams fan. What Sean McVay was thinking, I have no freaking clue whatsoever. Clearly, they're trying to make a statement that they're in win-now mode, but why couldn't you be in win-now mode with Jared Goff? If Jared Goff had a bad season, coach him up a little bit better. I still think Jared Goff has a ton of potential. I still think Jared Goff can do a ton of great things. To bring in a 33 to 34-year-old quarterback in Matthew Stafford, I don't think is going to drastically change the fortunes of that franchise, and I don't think it's worth technically 3 first-round draft picks, because Jared Goff was the number 1 overall pick in 2016, and they just gave up 2 extra first-round picks in order to trade for Matthew Stafford. Complete idiotic move. Now, the big question is if Carson Wentz does get traded from the Philadelphia Eagles, what does that mean for Carson Wentz's trade value? Well, I'll say this: there are some that think it absolutely booms Carson Wentz's trade value out of the stratosphere. No, it doesn't. I'll tell you why it doesn't. Because Carson Wentz came from that draft class that Jared Goff came from, and the Rams just traded 2 first-round draft picks along with Jared Goff to get one player. So really, what does that do for Carson? What does that do for Carson Wentz's trade value? What does that mean that Jared Goff is worth if you're only getting Matthew Stafford back in return? That means that Matthew Stafford is worth 3 first-round draft picks still to this day, and Jared Goff is worth 1. Let's do some math. Let's cancel it out, right? So technically you're trading 2 first round draft picks. so they cancel out each other. So basically, the Rams gave Jared Goff away for two first-round draft picks. So basically, they said, "Here, Lions, you have Jared Goff for 2 first-round draft picks." Jared Goff had a better season than Carson Wentz did last season. And Jared Goff has played in the Super Bowl. Jared Goff has played more playoff snaps. He's played in playoff games. He's won playoff games. Whereas I'm not saying that Jared Goff is a better quarterback than Carson Wentz, because I still don't think that he is. But it doesn't really do good things for Carson Wentz's trade value. Now, obviously, there have been reports, according to certain insiders, saying that GMs around the league would be all over Carson Wentz if the Eagles did go ahead and put him on the trade block. But, that's neither here nor there, and that's hearsay. That's to be determined. We will see if that is the move that Nick Sirianni and staff decide to go. Honestly, it's Howie Roseman, not Nick Sirianni. Howie Roseman can decide to do whatever he wants to do, because as Nick Sirianni went ahead and told us, Howie Roseman has control over the 53-man roster. So pretty much what we're getting at here is that if somebody gives a good enough offer for Carson Wentz, we could be saying goodbye to Carson Wentz. My belief is that I think that they are going to go ahead and try and trade Zach Ertz. I think that is going to happen. I think we're going to see that happen over the next couple weeks. I was not aware that trades could happen this early. Maybe that's a change that was made in the new CBA. But because trades can happen this early, I expect Zach Ertz to be out the door within the next couple weeks. So if that's the case, what does that mean for Carson Wentz? I honestly think Carson's going to be upset if Zach Ertz is traded. I honestly think Carson Wentz is going to be upset if Zach Ertz is traded. So we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to dissect and go into that one quite a bit. Now, the Eagles did. There is new news on the Eagles staff. There is new news regarding the staffing changes for the Philadelphia Eagles as of today. The Eagles did hire the New York Jets former defensive backs coach Denard Wilson. Somebody cue the crickets. Is there crickets? Anybody? Is there any? Do we have a crickets sound effects? Oh, okay. No, we don't. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Whatever the fuck that means. Denard Wilson. Yeah. Let me pull up these numbers. I don't even really think I need to. The Jets have been absolutely horrible, and their secondary has been 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st in the league since he was promoted to defensive backs coach for the New York Jets. Not really going to make a big deal about it. I really don't think it's that big of a deal. Honestly, I think Jonathan Gannon is going to have much more grasp on the defense than this guy is. So not too worried about that. But because of that fact, it's like, why this guy? It makes absolutely no sense. To me. So, there are another thing I want to get into is there are a few linebackers that were reported that the Eagles should pay attention to during the Senior Bowl. We're going to go ahead and get into that in a little bit, and we'll go over some of those guys. The other thing too is we are going to talk about the fact that we are going to talk a little bit about Nick Sirianni's press conference a little bit more. And I did mention this in yesterday's video, so we're going to talk about that a little bit more. The fact that yeah, the fact that Nick Sirianni did name a quarterback, starting quarterback, we don't necessarily know that for a fact. He could have already done that. Obviously, he has had private conversations with both quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz. So we don't really know what the extent of those conversations were. All he pretty much said is he's not going to get into that, and they just have a little bit more evaluation to do. Now, what the final result of that evaluation will be does kind of make me a little bit nervous. It means that there is the opportunity that Carson Wentz can still get traded and might still get traded. And just the reality of the fact that Matthew Stafford just got traded to the Rams for Jared Goff means that anything is up to happen this offseason. And just the reality of that fact could possibly bring about a Carson Wentz trade. And it depends, honestly, what GMs think about Carson Wentz. Do they believe that Carson Wentz is more toward a Matthew Stafford value than he is more toward a Jared Goff value? So, because it's not out of question the things that Carson Wentz has done. We go ahead and look back at the things that he has done. He's become the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for more than 4,000 yards without a 500-plus receiver, or without a 1,000 receiving yard receiver. In fact, I don't think any of our receivers had 500 yards plus receiving in 2019, which is when he did break that record. So, there are quite a few accomplishments that he does have. He also has, the fact that he only threw the fact that he only averaged 7 interceptions over the last 3 seasons, with the exception of this season, was quite a pretty phenomenal feat as well. So, Carson will bring in quite a trade value. Here's my thing, and I'm going to mention something, and before you guys jump on it and think that I'm absolutely crazy for jumping on it, I do not want to trade Carson, and you guys are going to make assumptions about my thoughts towards Jalen Hurts from this. I don't want to trade Carson Wentz unless there is a sincere shot of us, or a valid attempt to trade up for Trevor Lawrence. Call me crazy. That's what I would want, because here's the thing. I don't know if Jalen Hurts is the guy. We've only gotten 4 games out of him. Yes, has he shown potential? Yes. Has he also shown the ability to make mistakes that scared the hell out of me? Yes, he's done that too. But there are quite a few quarterbacks in the first round that are worth taking, but we've seen what Carson Wentz can do. We've seen where his potential can be, and if we're going to trade Carson Wentz, I want it to be for a first-round draft pick, and that first-round draft pick is going to be used as leverage to go ahead and go straight to the top and grab Trevor Lawrence. That's what I would want. Call me crazy, but that's one of the things I would want if that were to happen. So either that, or they better grab two phenomenal freaking players in the first round. If that were not the case. So let's go ahead and get into some of these Senior Bowl guys here. Give me 1 second here while I go ahead and pull this up. And the other thing too about the NFL insiders that say that the GMs would be all over it is they're saying that Carson Wentz is going to be very tradable, and this was put out 10 hours ago from the Bleeding Green Nation. And this is Ian Rappaport talking to Angelo Cataldi. I actually don't think that the contract is that big, which I know sounds probably crazy. Now, it was big when he got it, but some of it has been paid already. Some of it has been paid up front. 4 years, averaging, I think, 24, 23 million per year. That's like the 22nd most expensive starter. It's literally middle of the road. I would say Matthew Stafford has 2 years and 43 million left, so he's a little cheaper, but he'll probably want a new deal. Jared Goff, also tradable. He's a little more expensive, I think, than Wentz. But these contracts are all tradable. And obviously, as we know, over the last 24 hours, Matthew Stafford was traded for Jared Goff. And so what does that mean? That means that the contract, if Carson Wentz were to be traded, the contract that we were so worried about that would keep Carson Wentz from being traded is a no thought. It is a no thought. The one thing, though, is that there are those two teams were not as in big cap hell as we are. So that's the other thing to keep in mind, too. That is the other thing to keep in mind as well. So all right, here we go. So, one of the linebackers that we should probably keep our eye on, and I'm bringing these up because obviously linebacker is a huge need for us going into next season, and hopefully, Howie Roseman, hopefully Jonathan Gannon, Nick Sirianni can convince Howie Roseman that, hey, buddy, linebacker is probably a pretty important position to take a peek at. We saw what the Indianapolis Colts defense turned into when they drafted Darius Leonard, so maybe you should just listen to us for a second. Monty Rice, linebacker out of Georgia. He's a solid run defender. He uses his great agility and overall athleticism to pursue the ball carrier and bring them down quickly with his decent tackling ability. I like that because that sounds like he's got potential to possibly turn into a sideline-to-sideline player. Agility, great in the run game. Will chase down guys. So that's a really good combination to have. And as an inside linebacker for the Bulldogs, Rice was tasked with a lot of man coverage, so he does have that coverage ability, that pass coverage ability as well. So that'd be good. So that's good for covering tight ends. Another thing is Patty Fisher, linebacker out of Northwestern. So he would be good as well. And over the 4 years at Northwestern, he amassed 389 total tackles, 2 sacks, 10 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions. And that's just kind of the production that we've just been lacking, I will say this is Alex Singleton, over the course of the year, was kind of on that type of trajectory. He had an amazing first season at the inside linebacker spot for us. And so I'm hoping that he can continue the progression and the development that he started to come into during last season. The third one is Charles Snowden, linebacker out of Virginia. And he's probably pretty much more of a project guy. So we probably need to put our hands. The coaches probably need to get his hands on him a little bit more. But if they do a good job of it and develop him successfully, he could develop into a really, really good linebacker. So but he does stand at 6'6", 232 pounds. So so he'd probably be more of an outside linebacker guy, but all in all three of them do have quite a bit of potential. So and obviously at the top of my board is probably Micah Parsons, linebacker Micah Parsons, as we all know, out of Penn State. few others is Dylan Moses, out of Alabama, and there are a few others as well that we'll certainly get into a little bit later. But no, absolutely, it's absolutely crazy. So let me know what you guys think about the Matthew Stafford for Jared Goff trade and the fact that they gave up 2 future first round picks, which doesn't make any sense. Please tell me what you guys think about that in the comment box below. Any questions or comments or concerns, comment box below, and I'd be more than happy to get into it and talk about it with you. Do you guys think that this increases Carson Wentz's trade value, or do you guys think that it devalues Carson Wentz? Leave that in the comment box below. I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Zach Ertz will get traded in the near future? I want to know what you guys think on that as well. And if Carson Wentz is going to have an issue with Zach Ertz getting traded, if and when Zach Ertz gets traded. And what is Zach Ertz's trade value? What do you guys think about that? I personally think that Zach Ertz could possibly be still valued at a late second round, probably early third round draft pick, which I think would be probably a decent return. And if he's worth trading for any players, let me know what you guys think. I want to know what you guys think and what kind of players that you guys think we should trade for if we did a player for player swap for Zach from a Zach Ertz trade. So anyway, this is DB talking now. DB talking Birds. DB talking Philadelphia Eagles. Have a beautiful rest of your Sunday evening. Go Birds, baby.